Together we'll see who dies and survives, circled around a sacred fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure called the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Grab those multivitamins you've been holding on to since the beach, because today we're reading Chapter 12, We Check Into C.C.'s Spa and Resort. In this chapter, Percy and Annabeth feel regret about losing Tyson. They both get a makeover, with Percy experiencing more drastic changes, and release the pirates!
Release the Kraken, but they're pirates. And plot twist, Child of Ares.
Plot twist, Child of Ares, indeed. Yes, it's always interesting to add to our list of famous demigod figures.
Yeah. So we find Percy coming to on a kind of very makeshift raft situation with Annabeth.
Yes.
After having fallen from the sky and the ship having exploded. It's curious to me that because we find out that Annabeth was able to fish Percy out of the water and bring him onto the raft and everything, and even his bag was kind of floating, she grabbed some stuff from it. It's interesting that they wound up close enough to each other in the vastness of the sea of monsters.
Yeah, I would say improbable that happened.
Especially because she was close to Clarice, but they are no longer.
Right.
Clarice is nowhere in sight.
And Percy's falling from the mouth of a giant monster 100 feet in the air. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yes,
So
I agree.
It
also
feels
interesting.
I was going to say, it feels like divine intervention of some
A
sort.
little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the way it was meant to be kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that Annabeth has made a makeshift sail for the rowboat because aside from Athena's talent for weaving, which comes up a little later, we don't necessarily, I think, hear about Annabeth with arts and crafts other than making city planning designs and stuff. So I think it's it just struck me that she has taken gray uniform fabric and made a makeshift sail out of it. That feels really impressive, and much more like a thing you would think Percy would be inclined to do in terms of sailing, or maybe Tyson in terms of building. So just showing how resourceful Annabeth is, I think, here, without going too much into it, just the fact of it. And also it reminded me of we went to this workshop at REI for wilderness stuff, and they tell you about your 10 essentials that you're supposed to have. And one of them is a repair kit so that you can tie down or sew something together if you needed to. And this just made me think that's really important.
Yeah. Well, and I think to your point, I was thinking about how through the Lightning Thief and through the Sea of Monsters, it's we keep on getting new power unlocked from Percy, new power unlocked from Percy, but Annabeth has been training for years longer than Percy, so it's not so much powers unlocked for her as it is kind of Percy, and then therefore us the readers discovering Annabeth can also do this thing. So it does feel fun that there is that drop of an introduction of Athena is not just wisdom but also my mind is blanking on the term for kind of everything that falls under weaving, the crafting,
craftsmanship.
Because that comes into play in books further down the line.
Well, I was just thinking that with the Daughter of Athena piece later in Heroes of Olympus, I feel like Annabeth, of every hero we meet, is the one that I would most bet on to be able to survive when dropped into any given situation you could imagine.
Yeah.
And
totally.
So I think we're just building our like evidence of that book by book, and this is like another moment where this is not in her main skill tree, but she is totally capable of doing it without anyone else's help, and also like saving someone and getting some very key items in the process. So definitely like a major props to Annabeth, and sort of foreshadowing for the sort of untapped potential of survival that she has. I mean, and she had to survive as a 7-year-old on her own before she met up with Luke and Talia. So we get that like anecdotally more so, but I think this is just a good note of like, okay, Annabeth, we're building up that skill set that we're going to be seeing throughout all the next 2 series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She is definitely the person that you want on your team, regardless. Are you going to be in space? Are you going to be in Earth? Are you going to be in ground? Are you going to be in Tartarus? Are you going to be in the ocean? Wherever you're going to be, you want Annabeth there because she has a solution. She has a plan. She has the ability to
knowledge, skills, problem solving.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as Percy comes to, the first thing that he asks about is Tyson.
Because the last thing Percy remembers is an explosion. Like, thinking about this from his perspective, ship went boom. He knew Tyson was under, in the underbelly as far as he knew, and he's falling 100 feet down. So that's the last thing Percy remembers. Yeah.
And Annabeth tries to, I think, have a little bit of hope in saying that there's a possibility that Tyson may have survived because fire can't kill him, but I think they both believe that Tyson did not survive that explosion. But I do think it is a real indicator of Annabeth's like growth and change and like journey with Tyson, that like she is the one to try and provide some hope and say like, hey, there's maybe a chance that he did survive. I think that's very different from the Annabeth that we met at the beginning of this book.
And later she even apologizes to Percy when he references them, that idea of never being able to trust a Cyclops that Annabeth has introduced, and admits that she was wrong about Tyson and she wishes she could tell him that. So I think we really see, it's not great that it took them thinking he's dead for these thoughts for both of them to come up, because for Percy, he's thinking about all the times he'd been embarrassed by Tyson and denied that they were related. So they're both sitting in that regret, which is not great that it takes someone dying to like have those thoughts come up. But we are finally landing in a real differentiating Tyson from Cyclopes that Annabeth has met in the past. And I think that's a really important growth point for both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, Percy is, I think, really sitting with for the first time, like the things that he thought and felt and said about Tyson, denying that they were related and like not wanting to really be associated with him in any way. I think he's still struggling with it because like when you mentioned when Annabeth apologizes, it's because like Percy gives this jab of like saying the thing back to her, and I think that's another moment where like I think Percy's really more mad at himself than he is at Annabeth, so he's I think he's still, which again makes so much sense when you think about a 13-year-old like trying to process and grapple with this huge devastating thing just happened, and then you're feeling guilt, and maybe some shame mixed in there, I don't know, but like guilt over the things you thought and felt and said, and wishing that you could take things back or like say something and you can't anymore.
It's easier to put it on someone else, but he does end up realizing that he's not going to be able to stay mad at her, and that it doesn't make sense to resent her. So it's not it's not fully like he's acknowledging that he's trying to put his guilt on her, but I think the strength of their friendship really carries through in this moment. And it doesn't even feel like it's through the next few pages, you kind of forget that they're like stranded in the middle of the sea on a rowboat with a makeshift, sail. Like, right. It's so Percy and Annabeth are just like talking and hashing things out. And they're so, even just by book 2, used to like being out on an adventure together and surviving and like having confidence in that. that's not even like the main issue at hand,
Right.
which I think is really interesting.
No, absolutely, because they don't actually have a conversation about like, okay, we're stranded. What's
No.
the plan? Like, and had the seagull not come when it did, like maybe they would have been like, okay,
Yeah, we were about
what's
to
the
get
plan
there
here?
probably.
But it is, I do think that's such a great point that like there's such a familiarity and I think like fundamental trust that it's kind of like emotions are big right now. We need to talk about our feelings.
Yeah, we need to talk about Tyson. We need to talk about prophecies. Where this rowboat is taking us and how to, that's...
Yeah.
And Grover,
Right,
everything
right.
else is secondary to that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so before we kind of get into the prophecy conversation of it all, we do take a quick stock of like everything that was salvaged, and I just want to run through that real quick.
Agreed.
So,
this is important.
Annabeth salvaged the now empty Hermes' thermos, a Ziploc bag full of ambrosia, a couple of sailor shirts, and a bottle of Dr. Pepper. Feels really funny that a whole bottle of Dr. Pepper survived.
Bottle. Yes.
This explosion. And then most of Percy's stuff had floated away, but he still had Hermes' bottle of multivitamins, and of course Riptide, because Riptide will never leave him.
Yeah.
So that's what Percy and Annabeth are working with, which are really like the most fundamentally important things. Like they still were able
especially the bottle of Dr. Pepper.
Yes, yeah, that is the most important.
I have to say, not my favorite soda. If I had to pick soda, not my favorite soda. Not gonna lie.
And they are now, like, we kind of get this moment of fully taking in the fact that they are officially in the Sea of Monsters, that the water looks like more brilliant green, almost like hydra acid. The wind has this like strange metallic scent, like everything, it almost feels like everything's like dialed up, like it's like stronger,
like vaguely threatening. Like I thought it was really interesting that the comparisons are negative. So the water being more brilliant green, like hydra acid, I was like, brilliant green could be described in many, many different ways. Yeah. But Percy chooses to describe it as hydra acid, like threatening, right? And then that metallic scent, he's feeling like it's a thunderstorm. And that reminded me of like the first book. Thunderstorms are definitely associated with like Zeus and bad things for Percy. Like, not good things. Or for the gods. Like just not good things. So I did think it was interesting that in the Sea of Monsters, which makes sense, that all of the heightened sensations feel a little perilous.
Oh, totally. Yes. Yeah. But Percy still has his like his full power set of nautical abilities. Because there was that moment, when they're trying to cross where, which one was too strong? Cryptus was like too much in control over like the sea in that place that Percy couldn't like stop it. But he's got his nautical bearings. Like he's still got Sea of Monsters hasn't,
Yeah, it doesn't negate his powers. It's still a sea so he still has his bearings.
Yeah. And then they have they like finish that conversation about Tyson where Percy, says the piece to Annabeth and she apologizes and I think you can really tell in this moment like how bad Annabeth feels. Like she really truly means that apology. She really does wish that she could tell Tyson, I was wrong about you, I'm sorry. Like it's really, I think, feels incredibly genuine.
And I don't think it's just because Tyson essentially sacrificed himself for them. One thing I like about this is I think that this is like the accumulation of all of the experiences with Tyson. And I think that's part of what makes it more genuine is it's not like when someone like leaps in front of you and takes the bullet from you kind of thing. Yeah. And then that like, I don't know, somehow then you feel totally different about them or, something more direct like that. Obviously, him going down to help with the mission and putting his life at risk is a piece of it. Right. But I kind of like that you get the sense that this has been a gradual change of mind over many lived experiences and it's very genuine and firm. It's not based on one thing and fickle.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just that I think her believing of his death, I think, is rushing the process of all of that like having that final sinking in.
Absolutely.
You know, but it was already the journey that she was on. And like we noted that, you know, those moments of like growth and change and those differences as they very, very slowly popped up.
More slowly than we would like them to, but it still is happening.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, and then Percy kind of brings up the like can of worms that I think has really been sitting with him since the Princess Andromeda and Luke made the jabs of like, oh, you don't know about the Great Prophecy? I know about the Great Prophecy. Like,
I know something you don't know. That really stuck with him.
Yeah, and so Percy just straight up asks Annabeth about it. It's funny. He calls it Chiron's prophecy.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Which just made me laugh.
I guess because it was given to Chiron.
I guess, yeah.
The way that, like, it was Percy's prophecy last time.
Right. But it's just funny because it's like Chiron he's training everyone involved, but like...
Yeah, no, it is funny. Also because we come to know it as the Great Prophecy.
Yeah. And Percy kind of finds a loophole in like...
Yeah, we love a loophole.
You know, the gods made Chiron promise you wouldn't tell, but no one made you swear that you wouldn't tell. And Annabeth is, you know, she's kind of trying to be like, I don't, you know, knowledge isn't always good. Like, it's always good to know things.
And he's like, your mom's the wisdom goddess. What are you talking about?
But she does finally cave, you know, when he really kind of drills down on, like, I know the gods are worried about something that I'll do when I get older, specifically when I turn 16. And he's basically just like, tell me now. And she does cave and she gives the information that she has. She doesn't know the full prophecy, but she knows that it warns about a half-blood, child of the big three, the next one who lives to the age of 16. It's the true reason why Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades swore that pact at the end of World War II, because whoever this child is will decide the fate of Olympus. They will make a decision that either saves the age of the gods or destroys it. And Percy has a lot of big, like, realizations that come out of this. He, like, it fully hits him that that's why Kronos didn't kill him last summer, because, like, Percy could still be of use to him, like, if Kronos is able to convince
the gods and destroy them.
And he also has a moment where he's, like, then kind of wondering, like, well, why do the gods allow me to live? Like, isn't it easier for them to just take me out of the equation and, you know, eliminate it that way? And Annabeth is honest in saying that she doesn't know why the gods are letting him live. Some might want to end his life. Some might be afraid of offending Poseidon. Some maybe just kind of want to watch to see, like, who he'll become. Some maybe think he could be useful to them. Like,
because she also points out that 3 years is a long time.
Yes.
For a demigod, and that when Talia first showed up, Chiron thought that she might be the child of the prophecy, of course. And then when she, for all intents and purposes, died, then they, like, didn't know what to think until Percy came along. And so it kind of shows the, ways in which variables can change.
Oh, yeah.
And so 3 years for some gods might feel like plenty of time to assess what's going on with Percy. And I do think that her point when she first tries not to tell him that when heroes know their fate, they often try to change it, and that never ends up very well, is interesting. Though I think Percy knowing the full prophecy ends up being the only way that they can succeed in the end.
Yeah.
Because it's a combination of him knowing the whole prophecy and holding that I'm not the hero, and, like, being able to interpret the prophecy differently that allows it to happen. So it just brings up an interesting question of, like, when, why, and how is it good to, like, know your fate?
Yeah. And I feel like that's so dependent upon the person,
Yes,
like
and the situation and the timing. Like,
yes.
I agree that it probably isn't the time right now for him to maybe know everything.
No, and I do think holding until the 5th book for him to really be like, okay,
Yes.
here's every stanza, here's every line,
Yeah.
you've got it all. Like, I think it does make a lot of sense, because it's like Percy needs to really understand this world and almost kind of like form his own opinions and beliefs and ideas and his own relationship
grow to understand himself.
Yeah,
too. Like he learns so much about himself that's valuable to this. And I think that knowing things early, you run the risk of creating a rigid interpretation.
Yep.
So like if you're like, oh, this probably means that, and then you think that for 3 years, it could be harder to reinterpret or think of a new way, to look at it.
Absolutely. And I think especially to like the piece of ultimately the important decision that he has to make is to trust Luke.
Yeah.
Like with the dagger, and be like, okay, I'm going to trust you in this moment that you're going to take yourself out. And that is really the decision. He has to choose to trust, not choose to fight or, defeat some enemy.
Which for the next few books is going to would feel impossible as Luke goes more and more and more on the side of Kronos.
But like the journey of the next 4 books is, I think, without the knowledge of that, I think is the only way really that Percy gets there.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Because I do think he could, being told too early, be way too set. And even though he does have this like, I'm not the hero, like, I don't have to be the hero, like, mentality. I think it could have gotten too set too early. Oh, there's a really big, important...
and I don't even think that's his mentality. I think that's something he's, like, having to learn, but it goes against his fatal flaw. So I think his primary mentality is wanting to save everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm not the hero actually goes, like, against his true nature.
Right.
Which is why I think it's such a hard thing. The other thing is that, like, just like it could have been Talia, it could have been Bianca, it could have been Nico. Like, I think the other thing is, what, are you going to just tell the whole prophecy to any kid of the big 3 and then watch what happens? So you're kind of stuck. I think it's always tricky. Like, it's an ethical dilemma that we don't really face in our reality, because prophecies, as far as I know, aren't things that we're living by. But in fantasy books often comes up as like, if you are a mentor holding back information, like, what is the ethical or moral implication of that? Like,
totally.
Like, as a full disclosure or consent kind of thing. I think that's still a thing. But in this case, because, like, obviously that comes up in Harry Potter with Dumbledore a lot. In this case, it's not so clear who the child is.
Right.
And that does bring up a difference, I think, in how you're going to reveal the information and to whom and when.
Especially when it's completely unclear who the child is, and most people's interpretation is that, like, they will turn 16 and then they will die. Like, that they don't make it past, that they are the one, that the child of the big 3 is the one to die, though in the end it, as we know, it's Luke.
Yeah.
And so also, like, you don't want to go around and tell every child with a big 3, hey, when you turn 16, that's it. Lights out.
Honestly, you're going to get a lot more Hunters of Artemis and a lot more, like, I was thinking that too here, C.C.'s going to offer immortality to Annabeth.
Oh,
and I'm like, I was like, okay, for, like, girls, there seems to be a lot of options.
Right.
I don't know about, how would Percy go about this?
Right.
I guess, I mean, because, like, when he goes in the sticks, he's not stopping aging. He's just becoming immortal, which I guess maybe C.C. isn't. I'm not sure if she's stopping or aging. I'll have to double check that in the chapter.
Oh, yeah, because she's just,
like, are you saying
immortal.
young forever, or you're just immortal? But anyway, I was just thinking, like, how many loopholes are there for?
Yeah.
And for whom?
Yes, no, totally. Yeah. So yeah, they have this conversation that I think kind of leaves Percy feeling like, I think he has, like, more, like, kind of, like, almost, like, philosophical, like, questions,
Like we do. Yeah, this is totally a philosophical debate.
Yeah, where he's like trying to understand, like, okay, if I really am the child who could decide, like, the age of the gods continues or ends.
Huge.
Like, that is so much weight, and what does that mean for the gods and how they view me and what they, and Kronos and like...
Something that's interesting in this book that I'm realizing. So, last book, Percy is told that, like, the fate of the world rests on his shoulders. And he knows Kronos is trying to come back. So, I guess I also wonder how much this changes for Percy or not. Like, this information, he's already trying to fight against Kronos. He already doesn't want Kronos to win. So maybe he'll be the one to make an important decision. And of course, that's a particular amount of pressure. But it feels like it doesn't change the fundamental concept he has of, like, he will want to be in the thick of fighting against Kronos and making these kinds of choices. And he knows that's coming anyway.
I think, in my opinion, and I think it's the question of, then why do the gods even let me live? I think that's what it changes. Because it solidifies, like, I am a potential threat to the gods, and a potential threat to Kronos, / potential ally to Kronos, and potential ally to the gods.
Right.
Like, and so I think, like, that's what it solidifies, and where he moves from just being like, of course I want to defeat Kronos, to now being like, well, hold on a minute, the gods might want me dead too. Because I now pose an active threat to them because of the possibility of what might happen in the next 3 years.
Yeah, it forces him to reckon with and figure out his relationship to the gods in a different way. I think you're totally right about that.
I think just become aware of, like, he's still going to be snarky Percy, but, like, almost to a certain extent, he's in this interesting place of, like, he's in this really precarious position with the gods, but also holds a lot of power because of his, like, this prophecy decision-making ability. It made me...
But it also kind of makes him vulnerable or like a target. Maybe not vulnerable so much as a target.
It, like... I keep on thinking of the metaphor of a chessboard, which is really terrible because I'd never played chess and I don't understand chess. But I watched a documentary recently about...
so you're now an expert.
No, just about this. I'm blanking on her name, but this woman who was, like, the first girl, she like broke all of these, like, incredible records. Back in, like, I think it was like the 80s and the 90s and stuff. I wish I could remember her name. It's the documentary's on Netflix if anyone's interested. But it, like, I keep on thinking of, like, Percy as a pawn, because from my unbelievably limited understanding of chess, pawns can both be, like, very powerful in that they can, like, move in, like, any direction and stuff, but also like they can be taken off the board really easily. So
and
it
are
feels
often sacrificed.
So it feels like Percy really is, like, pawn, like, it personified in this moment, because, like, everyone wants him, and everyone either wants him off the board or on their board to make the final move that ends the game. And, like, and
pretty much all the other players that are taking actions or are in motion have more power than he does.
Right. Yes.
So I think that is a good analogy.
Okay, great.
With my limited knowledge of chess.
With our limited knowledge of chess combined.
I think I was in chess club in elementary school. I'm, like, having this memory come back to me. Like, I think I did play some chess. But that now was, like, a long time ago. So, but I think I remember liking it. I watched The Queen's Gambit, so.
Oh, nice. I feel like your brain
all about
works
chess
for chess. I don't have a brain for chess.
I do
but
enjoy
got a
strategy. I do.
Yeah.
And a thinking ahead. Yes. Yeah. So, okay, the other thing I don't want to forget that I think is the last thing that we haven't touched on in this chapter that I think is important based on some of our
chess more?
prior conversations. This has now become an all chess podcast. Just PSA for the listeners and viewers. All chess all the time. Just kidding. We could never. It'd be a 3-minute podcast. The other thing that we get clarified that is important is that Percy is thinking about Tyson. And I think this is a
Yes.
key moment where he is also acknowledging brotherhood in a way that he hasn't before. And he's like, the gods, including the big three, have tons of children not with humans, essentially, right? And he says monster children. And so he's thinking about, like, couldn't it be a Cyclops? Couldn't it be Tyson? Because Tyson's also the son of Poseidon. And Annabeth explains that the Oracle used the term half-blood, and that half-blood always means half human, half god. So that's really interesting. It's also, I think, the one place that's, like, a question for me about that is that we have a place called Camp Half-Blood. And then we have Tyson being claimed by Poseidon and sleeping in the Poseidon house. So it's just, I'm still trying to kind of wrap my head around what my thoughts are here, but there's this distinction being made when it comes to prophecies and, like, official definitions, but that's not how it has been playing out. Like, in other ways, Tyson experienced the exact same things that happened to Percy.
No, totally. Well, and there were a couple of questions that came up for me in that, because, you know, the specific wording of, because the Oracle said half-blood, I was like, does that mean if the Oracle says something else? Like, if, like, Rick Riordan, do we want to maybe go back in time and be like, once upon a time, a Cyclops was given a quest at camp, or another, you know, like, or, you know, maybe in a future book, you know, like, I don't know, that could be fun.
Super fun.
Like, they're just as much a part of the mythological world. And so that, like, that made me desire to read, like, a book where a quote-unquote monster.
Well, and it's like, Tyson is trying to find Percy when in The Lost Hero, or not The Lost Hero,
and the Son of
Neptune. We get these glimpses of him, like, trying to get to Percy. Like, that's what my brain just gave me, was like, it's not quite a quest story, right? But it is a quest, you know, it's kind of a self-giving quest. But he's just like, I can smell you, but then you disappear. Like, you know, and you're like, your heart aches. But it is like, it would be interesting, that journey, even just to follow,
totally.
You know, that journey Tyson goes on. So yeah, I'm picturing like Tyson and Ella, and I can't figure out who else I want on this quest. But
yeah. No, fully. Good. They go on a quest, and I want to read that book, please. And thank you so much, Mr. Rick Riordan. But to your, like, kind of previous question about, like, this, like, when it's applied versus when it's not, like, it got me thinking about how, like, everyone at camp knows that a Cyclops only exists because Poseidon, like, Poseidon is a crucial piece of the creation of a Cyclops being, like, born into this world. So everyone at camp would have known, but he would not have been allowed to sleep in cabin 3 had the claiming not occurred. So to me, it almost feels like it's the claiming you had the glowy, you know, symbol, like, rotate above your head.
That, like, legitimizes him.
Yeah, because to me, it's like, it feels like the same as the unclaimed campers in 11. Like, they're in cabin 11 until they get the glowy symbol above their head. And then they can go somewhere else.
But they would still be known as half-bloods in cabin 11.
Yes, totally.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's just interesting. I think you're right. The reason he gets to sleep in cabin 3 is because he is claimed.
Yeah.
But it just,
because it's almost
makes the number of differences between him and Percy so few. Like, it really keeps picking away at them.
Absolutely. Yes, no, fully. Because I think it's, to me, that's more of them being like, Poseidon, we have to respect Poseidon because he made his glowy trident. So, we can't make, you know, big ocean guy mad. Like,
this, honestly, like, we have both seen the first half of season 4 of Bridgerton at this point. And this whole, like, legitimate versus illegitimate pairings and children is, like, such a main theme of this season. And so this is all just, like, making me think of that.
Yes. But I do think, and I feel like it'd be
Sophie.
really fun. Sophie. That
Sophie.
accent is so fun.
It's so good.
I feel like it would be really fun for us to make a separate video really breaking down like how I think we can make a real case for like a Cyclops is a half-blood in everything except for name, because Tyson has his own power set. He has his own abilities.
Totally.
They're not the same as Percy's, but there's are examples of that in like all other cabins where like, you know, children of a god don't always have the same ability sets as
I'm
each other.
just trying to remember if what they explained at the beginning of the book is that it's when Poseidon has a child with like another god, like a goddess or something.
It's like it's like a nymph, not a nymph for us.
I guess what I'm trying to say is like another magical being.
Yes, not with a human, which is the definition of a half-blood is with a human.
Yeah.
But the I guess maybe the demigod, right? If half-blood is specifically half human, half god, and maybe demigod can be a broader term, like I think every Cyclops is a demigod.
Yep, I think
that's
that
the stance
makes sense
I'm
to
personally taking.
And then it's so interesting, it's just semantics. If the Oracle says half-blood or demigod, then it changes entirely who's the candidate. Yeah.
Which also, I do think there's a whole, and this, I think, gets explored, and I'm excited when we get to those books that, like, get more into this, but I do think in this, like, in the way that the Percy Jackson world works right now, and that will be pushed to change, there's, like, not anthropomorphic, but, like, supremacy. Like it's like human, you know, in terms of like this being like half-blood is only half human, half, you know, like, and everyone else doesn't get considered.
That's what's like valued and
because I'm like, Tyson immune to fire. None of you humans except for Leo, you know, like soon to come can say the same. Like, you know, Tyson is more skilled than pretty much most of the kids in the Hephaestus cabin. Like Tyson can do all mechanics. Of these unbelievable things, but like none of that gets recognized and validated just because like a half of him is not human, you know. So I think there is like whatever that word would be for just the like human supremacy and dominance and like value place so much more on half of you being human over anything else.
I think that that's a thing that exists in our like real life, right? Is this idea of human supremacy on Earth. So I think it makes sense that it shows up in these books too. Yeah. It's just like so another layer.
And it's just really interesting, like in a mythological world where like anyone who's half human is arguably like among the weakest of beings.
That you they're know, also like the only official ones.
Yeah. And like really among the few respected, like apart from the gods that are respected, it's like the demigods are respected underneath them.
They get to be the heroes. I guess that's really
yes, that's piece.
Really the thing.
Thank you. Yes. Who gets to be the hero and who doesn't?
Who gets? Which that's a topic that we can pull on many threads, and we shall.
Oh
but
yes.
I think that kind of wraps that first section. Yeah. About being in this rowboat, and then, as you referenced earlier, a seagull comes down, lands on the makeshift mast, and it's a very classic "here's some leaves from a bird" moment, and Annabeth is like, "Land! There is land!
Land ho!
Land ho!" So we end up pulling up to what seems to be just like a paradise beautiful island, with a very strange assortment of boats and some buildings and a small mountain in the center. And we have a flight attendant looking lady with a clipboard welcoming them in a blue business suit, perfect makeup, and hair pulled back in a ponytail. And with a dazzling smile that makes Percy think that maybe getting off a really, really messed up rowboat does not earn the welcome that they are getting. So, we love to count our red flags. I'm going to go with red flag number 1. I'm going to go with that right there. And am I correct in saying that this is Reyna?
Oh, I thought this was Hyla.
Well, we meet her later. right?
But for whatever reason, when we meet her later, oh no, Hyla's in a business suit, not a flight attendant.
Right.
Oh, so flight attendant, because what's the description? We don't really get a good description of her.
We don't really get a good description.
This could be Reyna.
In my memory of Heroes of Olympus, Percy, when he finally puts it together, because he's slowly getting his memories back, is like, you're the one who greeted us at CC's island.
Yes. Yes.
Because Reyna immediately recognizes Percy.
Yes, I believe you are correct. That that your memory is correct and that this is Reyna.
Okay.
I want to say it is so fun because, like, you know, I don't know Rick Riordan's process, but like my best guess would be he did not write this thinking, and they're going to be sisters and they're going to become that crucial like 5 books from now. Yes, exactly. And they're going to have all this incredible history. They're going to be so deeply important to the story 5 to 6, 7 books from now.
I think there's certain things he does, and this is not one of them, I don't think. And it's almost like, yes, we've been talking a lot about the importance of making sure you're clear about your character's physical attributes, but this is one example of like a super side character that, because she's not extremely detailed,
is able to be like
description,
made important.
We get to like have really cool stuff with her later, so it's super interesting.
I really love it. I think it's really fun to return back to like a character that was written, I think, very clearly as like and someone greets him off the boat and we move on, you know, like to then be like, hold on a minute.
Totally.
Great Scott, I've got an idea.
And in particular, because it is one of the ways in which we explore the effect of Percy's actions in the past. And I really, really love when characters have to face consequences of their actions. Particularly as the reader, because we're going to end this chapter feeling a sense of victory. But we're going to feel a lot of remorse for how this victory happened, like several books from now. And I just think that's really cool because it gives you layers, you know, to explore in the story.
And I think in particular, any time any story, a book, a movie, a TV show, what have you, forces the hero to reckon with, I quote unquote saved the day, and there were negative repercussions of me doing so, and
like
now
the Avengers,
I'm having
exactly. That's what you're thinking of. I feel like
Sokovia and everything happened there. You know, like just having to like really confront like, oh, in me saving the day from my perspective, I destroyed someone else's life. And that is now going to impact me. And I think it's great because like, I think we all can think and to some level believe that we're the heroes of our own stories and forget that sometimes when we're making the best decisions for ourselves, we're hurting someone else.
Well, and it questions the idea that the ends justify the means. And I think it makes you look at those means and ask yourself how you want to do things moving forward, which is always important.
Absolutely.
So I was just like, it's Reyna. Which is really exciting. And then I do love, like, I just want to name a couple of the different, I think ships are fun, like boats are fun. And Tyson would just be having the best time looking at this assortment.
I know he would.
But you've got like pleasure yachts and a U.S. Navy submarine and canoes and a 3-masted sailing ship, and it's just and here we have red flag number 2 because anytime there are things that appear out of time together,
specifically
equals magic.
I would have given him everything except for the fact that he reads a helipad with Channel 5 Fort Lauderdale. I'm like, Percy, my man. Percy, that is mortal human world stuff existing in the Sea of Monsters, a distinctly non-mortal, non-human
in a paradise-looking place. Like, what are they doing here?
What is Channel 5 Fort
what
Lauderdale
are they reporting on
here? They're in the Sea of Monsters. Like, that's the thing. There were a couple of moments where I'm like, it feels like Percy is forgetting that he is in the literal Sea of Monsters.
It does feel that way. And it doesn't quite feel like the charm has overtaken them to where that, you know, would it make you be like, let's go in the other direction. We even have a propeller plane from like World War II. So I'm just like, the red flags are flagging. They are red. They are bright red. But he does his Percy explanation that we haven't had in a while, actually. Maybe they were replicas for tourists to look at or something. And I'm like, Percy, I know you are tired and you have just suffered a trauma, but you need to quickly move in the opposite direction. So then the woman who we know to be Raina is writing down that it's the first time at the spa. So we learn it's a spa. And that Annabeth is going to get an herbal wrap. And of course, Percy will get a complete makeover.
Of course.
Of course, which is the first time that is introduced. And that C.C. will want to speak with them personally. So we also get introduced to C.C. So, or not to her, but about her. So there's this funny moment where Percy's like, we've done this before.
Yeah.
We've experienced traps. Because this is giving strong Lotus Casino vibes for me.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really, really strong. And basically, when Raina doesn't immediately turn into a snake or demon right off the bat, Percy's like, I'm hungry. I'm hot. I'm tired. I'm thinking that I should just go eat something at the place that seems suspiciously magical and amazing. And then Annabeth says, I guess it couldn't hurt. And I'm like, I bet you it could. I bet you it definitely could. And Percy even says, of course it could. But we followed the lady anyway. And you're like, guys.
I know.
We've been here before.
This feels like such the demigod moment of, you know, like, this might not be the best, like, analog, but it reminds me of, like, those times where I'm, like, just sitting on my couch. And I'm like, I shouldn't scroll. It's not good for me to scroll.
I shouldn't open the app.
I'm going to open the app and I'm going to scroll. You know, because, like, I'm
it's
going to down in the dumps today.
I won't look up in 2 hours and wonder where the time went.
And it makes it worse, always.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it feels like the demigod equivalent of being like, I know. But I'm just too tired,
what works
too
for that
hungry.
as an equivalent that doesn't apply to you but totally works is that, like, there's definitely a specific, like, ADHD scroll experience, so I think that kind of works as something that would happen to demigods. So in reality,
it just feels like it's like there's just enough of that self-awareness to be like, really shouldn't, but I'm gonna anyways.
Do it anyway. Yep. I feel like this could definitely be like a meme. Yeah, of CC Spa. And of course, the place is beautiful.
Of course.
And fantastic. And there's terraces and swimming pools and water slides and waterfalls. There's a lot of water features, honestly.
Yeah.
And when Percy looks at the fountain spraying water that form impossible shapes where just the red flags are piling up because there is clearly magic, but there are flying eagles and galloping horses, and Percy remembers that Tyson loved horses, and he like turns around to see the expression on his face before he forgets that he's gone. And I just think that's such a real like grief response thing, because you just for a second you get taken up with something or distracted, and then you forget, and then you get really sad again. And I just like, honestly, I don't know, because Annabeth is like, you look pale. I'm like, I'd be sobbing. Like, I think it's hard to have those moments where you think you see something out of the corner of your eye or something reminds you, and then you forget for a second that they're gone. And then they have tons of animals, like not just magical water animals, but there's a sea turtle, which is kind of adorable, napping on a stack of beach towels. You have a leopard.
Are these people? Do we think that these are transformed people?
So I think these are transformed people because she specifically says that the guinea pigs are her worst people.
Right.
So I do think that these are probably like less bad, in her opinion, people. And they're also meant to, for the reader, maybe make it less weird that there's
Right.
later. Like, we're just introducing the idea of, like, they're just animals here.
Like, I wondered if maybe because later on when Cersei threatens to turn Annabeth into something as Annabeth had turned, this made me wonder, like, are these the women who came who are maybe not like 100% on board, and only the men get turned into guinea pigs, but like the women who are kind of like, I don't know about this. She's like, and you become a leopard and just kind of go hang out by the pool.
A leopard is a very strange choice, though. Well, there's two things strange happening on this leopard. One is leopards are like could hurt you. So I think it's interesting to turn someone into like a creature. I mean, obviously they could be charmed on top of that, but then also for a leopard to be so close to water is kind of funny.
But maybe I wonder, like, could a magic user turn themselves into something?
That's
like if Cersei can turn other people into animals, like, does she have some sorceresses who can like turn themselves into a leopard?
Like they're just lounging because they like being a leopard.
Yeah, they're just like having fun.
Okay, so I guess we could think about this in two directions. One could be girls or women who don't agree with Cersei, and then another thing could be, maybe they can turn themselves into animals. I'm just trying to think, other than Frank Zhang, if we run into anyone else who can do that, turn into an animal. I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but I desperately want to ask you what you think Cersei would do as someone who's non-binary, because I think that would just really mess up her whole brain.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they're all the non-binary people where she was like, I don't know what to do with you.
They're the leopard and the turtle are all the non-binary people that showed up. I kind of like that as my head canon.
She's like, I'm so sorry, I don't know where you belong. I'm kind of working with the like
you get to be like the pretty ones that are out kind of lounging and living life. Okay,
she's like, I'll make you big, it'll be fun.
You can't work for me.
No,
but you also aren't guinea pig material.
Right. That's what it is.
That works for my head canon. I think that's my favorite answer. So, yes. And then there are resort guests that are only young women, which is important. Annabeth does note this later. Lounging on deck chairs and drinking fruit smoothies or reading magazines. So, they're not all people who work there either. So, we kind of get a sense that, like, there are spa guests, right?
Yeah.
And then they go toward a main building and they hear singing, which is interesting because I believe Calypso also sings very beautifully. So there is, there's this sort of like confluence of like singing and magic that I think is really interesting. And it even comes up a little bit with Piper, I feel like, in terms of the way that her dad and her grandpa would talk about
Absolutely.
her.
Yes.
So, I just noted this, like, singing magic connection.
Yeah.
And the other interesting thing about it is that Percy... it's also another kind of red flag situation of what's going on. But he can tell that it's not ancient Greek, but it's just as old, and he thinks it might be Minoan, and that she's singing about moonlight in the olive groves and the colors of the sunrise and magic, something about magic. Her voice seemed to lift me off the steps and carry me toward her. So it's like we're past red flags, really got alarm bells at this point, I feel like.
But also the like Lotus Casino-esque magic is already starting to sink in. The one thing that I found particularly fun about this was that this is our basically learning of like demigods. It's not just ancient Greek. Yeah, they can go even further back because you know the gods go further back, and so like that just was really fun. That like
Agreed.
They know Minoan too.
Yeah,
like they can understand that too. Like I just found that to be really fun.
I agree. I love it whenever we get to like learn new aspects of ancient Greek mythology that come up in these books, even as I'm like yelling at Percy to just like leave the freaking island. It's cool like to be able to encounter these things. So then they come to a big room and the whole front wall is windows, which that's just so my vibe. I love a big window. And then the back wall is covered in mirrors. So then the room just like seems to go on forever, and that's more like dance class again.
But like worse because it's like inescapable.
It's like inescapable everywhere. But it introduces right off the bat Cersei's thing. Like it introduces this idea of appearance, of reflection, of how you see yourself, and how she thinks you should see yourself, and of change. So we also have expensive white-looking furniture, and we have a pet cage, which we don't think about too much. And then that leads us to actually meeting C.C.
Yes. And so we find her at a loom the size of a big screen TV, which is kind of funny to think about, like a big screen TV in like 2006.
I know. I want to know. I wish he had put a number of inches.
I know.
Because if I think big screen right now, I'm thinking 70, 80.
I'm thinking like 84
inches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like this could be like 54 inches.
Oh, fully. Absolutely.
To be big screen in the early
Yes.
It's just funny.
And thick. Like
Oh, yeah. That could really hurt someone if it fell on your foot or any other part of your body. Yeah.
Yes.
No.
And she's weaving this colored thread with incredible skill, and this tapestry is shimmering as if it's like three-dimensional. Like it looks and feels so real that Percy's like feels like he's actually looking at a real scene in it. And
sounds
Annabeth
beautiful.
It does, and Annabeth is like, like taken away by it. And this is where we get our description of C.C./Cersei. So she has long dark hair that's braided with threads of gold, piercing green eyes, and she's wearing this silky black dress with shapes that seem to move in the fabric, animal shadows, black upon black, like deer running through a forest at night. So everything is also with her, like, everything is so visual. Right?
Yes.
Like these mirrors, but also like her tapestries that look real, her like the fabric that she's wearing, like everything is so about like intense, like almost like hyper realistic visuals.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. I also, did this make you think at all of Hades' clothes?
Yeah, totally.
I think what's interesting is it doesn't explicitly say that it looks like they're moving, like they're necessarily trapped spirits in the same way, but it's like black upon black with shapes like deer running through the forest at night. It's also
and the animal
all very
shadows.
nature. But yeah, the shadows, it kind of reminded me of what Hades wears.
Yeah. And so Annabeth and C.C. have this moment about the weaving, and Annabeth really being able to appreciate it as a child of Athena. And it's funny, she like stops herself from saying that she is, and that's why like I had to write on the page, "You are in the sea of monsters."
Yeah, I know.
Like, what are you talking? What are you? You're not.
Assume that everyone
Atlanta,
you're
Georgia.
running into is magical in some way or mythical in some way.
The sea of monsters.
Yeah,
there's clearly magic happening around you. You can say, I think because Percy has this inner narration about how, like, you got to be careful because people are going to think, like, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, he's not even worried about, like, oh, no, you can't reveal, like your power set, like, who you're the child of for, like, power set reasons. He's like, no, people, like, no one's going to believe you. And I'm like, you are in the sea of monsters.
The actual literal sea of monsters. Yeah.
But, it is, like, a good practice to, like, not, but I just was like...
Well, and you end up learning that, like, Cersei already knows anyway.
Yes.
So it's, like, a moot point.
Yeah. And this is where I started noting the number of times the animals in the corner cage start squealing.
Yes,
this is
very important.
Instance number 1. And Percy even was like, oh, I think they sound like guinea pigs.
Oh,
oh, interesting. And
what is that big sound? And where is Cerberus?
Right? Yes.
We're back.
We're back. And this is, we also get like 2 different times. It's really interesting of C.C. like taking in Percy and saying like, wow, you really do need help. And Percy getting sad and being like, oh my God, I've disappointed you. Like the exact same wording of like feeling like he wants to please her, like he disappointed her, like happens like twice.
I feel like it's so clear from this whole section that Percy's abusive parent figure was a man. Yeah. And that he's never experienced, like, an abusive mom figure.
Yeah.
Or, like, woman figure.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this could just be, like, you could see the alarm bells a little bit quicker, but he's more, it feels like he's more susceptible to this manipulation because he's never experienced it before.
Yeah. He's not like, oh no.
And also that he hasn't, like, had the experience of being a girl, because I think that's just, like, he's also just experiencing what it's like to, like, be raised as a girl in the world. But in either direction, he's just more susceptible.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so this is where we meet Hyla. I've pronounced it Hyla.
Yeah, I don't...
Internally the whole time.
I think I say Hyla because of the audiobooks, but now I understand that the audiobooks are not necessarily correct, so I actually don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to keep on saying Hyla.
Sounds good.
So this is where we first meet her, because CC calls her in and asks her to take Annabeth on a tour. And again, just feels... I love that this returns.
Yes.
I'm realizing... Again, because neither of us have watched season 2 of the show. I'm really curious if they chose to have Hyla be in this and cast her,
right? Or
if they like opted out of that, so that if they do get a, like, I don't know if they want to go through Heroes of Olympus or not.
Yeah.
But if they, I'm curious about that. I have
that will be very interesting. Yes.
But I just thought of that right now in this moment. And CC kind of tells Annabeth, like, oh, we'll change your clothing and your hair and all these things and it'll be lovely. Yeah. And Annabeth is like, well, what's wrong with my hair? What? And CC tells her that she's just basically so much wasted potential, and Annabeth is like, huh?
Like, wasted? What are you talking about?
Yeah. And this is where I think what's really interesting that CC says, which is, well, surely you're not happy the way you are. My goodness, there's not a single person who is. Which is, I think, like the crux of this kind of depiction of Cersei's, like, her, like, fixation, or her kind of, like, the core of her thing is this, like, it's this interesting thing that I think it is really cool when we're able to, like, get more from Rhaena of an exploration of, like, her experience of being at this island and, like, what it meant to her. Because it's, like, CC is, like, preying on that while also being, like, and here's, which is preying on it. Like, being, like, feel bad about yourself, and now here's the solution. And magically
there's, like, two things that are in my mind about, like, who Cersei is in this depiction. Yeah. The first is, like, a cult leader who is like, surely you're not happy with who you are right now.
Yeah, totally.
But luckily for you, I have the one and only true answer to how to make yourself better. Like, that's so cult leader. Like,
and it involves staying on this island, like, and never leaving.
Yes, we're all staying on this island and never leaving, and I will tell you what to eat and what to wear, and 100%, like, wearing the same white dress or whatever. Like, it's so culty. And then the second thing is that CC just sounds like every marketing ad for every beauty or food or diet product that has ever existed.
Yep.
And just the dollars, the billions and billions and billions of dollars that have been made convincing people that they are not enough as they are. Yeah. It's like, it's truly depressing. But it makes me want to give my annual, or whatever, once per book at least, my like, you are perfect as you are, and you don't need anything else to make you any more amazing than you currently are. Like, we all have stuff that we deal with and navigate that we want to, you know, change or like, I go to therapy so that I can be well and I can process things. And, like, that's good. Like, that's change that is for me. But in terms of the fundamental who you are as a person and what you look like as a person and your being, don't let anyone ever tell you that you're not enough as you are.
Yeah. 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 Or that there isn't a way for you to be happy.
Yes.
With who you are, how
yes.
you are in this moment that
yes.
you are. Like, because I just feel like at the end of the day, as long as you're not really harming someone else,
yeah,
then, like, yeah, we're all just trying our best. And,
yeah.
like, we can be happy in our minds, in our bodies, in our spirits, in our souls, in every way that we are, like, in the present moment. We live in a society that is constantly telling us from so many different avenues that it's not possible to be happy where you are, that there's always something that you need to be chasing, and it's always a bar that can never ever be met.
Yes, which I think is like the important thing, like the key thing, is that the ideal that is being presented does not exist.
Yeah.
Like, we're all sold this idea that there is an ideal way to be that actually does exist, and a lot of other people are living it.
Mm-hmm.
No. Like, the people that are living fulfilled, happy lives, and obviously we always want to take into account, like, privilege and your, like, environment affect every part of this. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, those are the people that have reached a sense of, like, self-acceptance and that have come to understand that they don't need to chase something different than what they are in order to be happy. So that doesn't require paying anyone anything.
No.
And I think just I don't know that the book is meant to give like a really deep analysis of like beauty culture and wellness culture and all the things that we're swimming in. Like, I think it's referencing it, but I just take it as like, if anyone ever sounds like C.C. sounds here, don't buy anything from them.
Don't sign up for anything with them. Don't give them your email. Don't give them your phone number. Don't give them your address. Don't go to their address.
3-day seminar.
No. Don't give them your credit card number.
Right. We're not doing that.
The other thing that I just wanted to take a quick second to talk about here, is we're kind of on like a things about Cersei break, was just that I did want to acknowledge like this current depiction of Cersei.
Yes, tell us.
Her mythological history. I want to shout out Cersei by Madeline Miller. Not for all ages. Like, be warned, like, trigger warnings. There are various of them. So also, if you haven't read it and you would like to read it, I highly recommend looking up some content warnings just so you can go in, prepared, having taken care of yourself, or know, hey, that's not, that can't be a book for me at this present moment in time, which it's always okay to be like, I cannot engage with something in this present moment in time because it's going to be like too triggering, like for me to take in right now. But that was like one of the first Greek retellings I read. I remember, I think I was like in Barnes & Noble with you, and I was like,
I think I remember this.
What's this book? This cover?
Yeah.
You can always get me with a cover. You can always get me with a good cover.
And you can always get you with Barnes & Noble.
Yes. And I saw that, like, gold on the black, and I was like, oh, what's this? And I read it, and I was immediately like, I have to read this book. And and I really love the nuance and the depth that Madeline Miller brings to Cersei's story, and the complexity that she adds to it, and just also like the reality to like what Cersei, her life probably was, because the first introduction of Cersei is in the Odyssey and the island that Odysseus and his men get like stranded on, and she turns men into pigs, which like we get to, but I think that the book really explores like everything that Cersei goes through, and it makes it like really humanizes her, and you really understand her,
not just like all powerful sorceress man hater.
And I think the biggest thing that I just wanted to like take a second to talk about was how often this goes back to like the witches trope, the Salem witch
Yes.
trials, like how often women with magic are just like immediately like in some way villainous. I mean, I even think about the
Yes.
Scarlet Witch, like
Yeah.
in Marvel, you know,
Totally.
like, and just how often the immediacy is like, oh, scary, oh, like too much power, too much control, and that it like
Yeah.
goes to this extreme extent because it is a woman with magic, that there's something
Right.
about that.
I'm even
that
thinking
is, like,
in like the Wizard of Oz, there are 3 witches,
mm-hmm.
but Glinda has to be specifically called the good witch, as if like
Yes.
the default. It's not like the other ones are the bad witches. They're just the East and the West. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like the only way to be a witch, to be a woman with magic, is to be bad, unless you are deemed otherwise by a man and only perform goodness for
Yeah.
the world. This is
Yeah.
also making me think that the trope that is just like not a thing, but I feel like it's such a thing on the internet, of like a woman who just like hates men for no reason,
Yeah.
is like ancient. Like this is
Yes.
such an ancient story of like
When
a woman, she just, well, I don't know, she just hates all men. I don't know why.
and it's
She
it's
just does.
it is always men being like, I don't know why this woman hates men.
Yeah.
And it's like, have you cracked open any, like, have you talked
have you
to
lived
one
in
woman?
the world?
Have you had a actual conversation with one woman ever?
Because I just don't even think that the woman who hates all men exists. Like, if you're out there, props to you. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, like, I think that this is a male created construct.
Yeah.
And that this is like a very ancient example of a false idea that like, because you are getting some amount of power and some amount of retribution on men that have been terrible, you must therefore hate all men.
Yeah. And also the seeking of said retribution for harm is like, yeah, this like across the board, applicable to everyone. And I think the thing that really I've been thinking about this a lot in the past couple months of how there and everyone please stay with me, I promise this is gonna make sense. But I saw someone write that like whenever someone has a dog who's like, hey, by the way, my dog is really reactive around men, like there's something past, my dog's really reactive around men, everyone's like, got it. No one's
Right.
like, your dog sucks and has
Right.
no reason to be reactive around men. Like, what's
Right.
wrong with your dog? But whenever it's a woman or just like a person being like, hey, some stuff happened to me and it's really hard for me to be around men, like there's just a triggering thing. It's like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Totally.
you are like, and I'm like, and of course, because it's like, yeah, we'll like have more humanity for a dog than we will a
Right.
woman, and that all the added layers of like, when you add all the other identities of like being black or being native or being,
Yes.
like queer, like everything else that stacks to mean you are less and less and less believed and like
Yes.
more and more and more ignored, like actively, intentionally by the government, by your systems, by like culture and society at large.
Yeah.
And just the like frustration of like the constant like gut reaction to invalidate like
Yes.
that for women or people who like have real, true, valid reasons to be like, stuff happened to me. I'm not coming up with this out of nowhere. Like, and I also just like, I think it is hard. The other thing that I've been really reflecting on a lot is how like, I think culturally, we are not taught how to take accountability for ourselves, and I think oftentimes accountability feels like taking blame for something. So like in this context, I think like the whole, when men will be like, but not all men, it's like, okay, sure, yeah, maybe not 100% of men, but like looking at the statistics, if you are a man and you have male friends, like, your friends have done some things. If you are not the one who's done something, your friends have. And the likelihood is that you might have heard a joke that you should have shut down, or like a passing comment that you should have shut down and you didn't. And like the accountability, and that applies to so many things outside of this, like racism and ableism and everything
kind of
else.
Privileged identity.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that applies that happens, that's like one of the things at play here, is the defensive reaction of like, if you're saying this about men or a man, then you're like automatically judging me in some way, or like it makes it very personal. Instead of what I think is most important in these situations is oftentimes for everyone to have an acknowledgement of the larger systems of oppression at play.
Absolutely.
Because it's all about who benefits and who has power in those systems of oppression. And the people who benefit and have power oftentimes don't have to take accountability. And the people who don't benefit and have less power are often the ones harmed and not believed, as you were speaking to. So I think it all comes down to like those factors, and that patriarchy is like any other system of oppression. And so instead of feeling like super defensive because someone says like, I don't trust men, or I don't feel safe around men, it's just like, okay, given the patriarchy, that's understandable. I can do what I can do, like you were saying, to unlearn what I have learned and internalized around patriarchy, because we all have internalized things around this, and to move through the world as safe a person as possible, and also, demand accountability from others.
Yeah, and the to your point about like that defensiveness of like that immediate reaction of not like being angry on behalf of the person, being able to be like, oh my gosh, how horrible is it that like things have happened and you live in a world where that has become your reality, and instead of being angry on behalf, like that defensiveness means like you're angry towards, and like that,
and on
just,
behalf of yourself.
Yes, and that is just such not a good response to have, and also doesn't really allow for there to be like those nuanced, understanding, compassionate conversations, and also like doesn't make space for then like some self-reflection of like, oh, okay, maybe let me think about like things that I can be doing. And I think a lot about Ta-Nehisi Coates' book. I'm forgetting the full title, but like it's basically like the anti-racist book, and where he explains that like
how to be an anti-racist. It's
not about not being racist, it's about being anti-racist. Like you have to be like, it is the air we breathe, it is the water we drink. Like it is not sufficient to just be like, well, I'm not racist. You have to be actively, like internally and externally, working against these systems every day. And I think that extends to all the forms of
like being
systemic oppression
and anti-homophobic and
and anti-ableist. Like if you're not, because then, and that's all of us. Like, and I have to catch myself with my language and be like, oh my gosh, that's ableist language that I didn't even realize I was using casually. And like that we all have our, like to have that constant self-awareness to be like, how can I, in my internal thoughts, in the language that I use, like what are the things that I can be doing that are active rather than passive? Because passive just winds up upholding the status quo. That was a really long segue.
Yeah, and I think that this is like what's good about books. It like brings up important topics to unpack, and you wouldn't necessarily think that one line from C.C. is going to kind of bring out all of this, but I think it should. Like I think it does, because this is the like personal is political. Right. And I think that like we've talked a lot about like fat phobia on the podcast, and there's this whole like debate around the body positivity movement kind of thing. Fundamentally, I was reading a piece by Virgie Tovar about like what that fundamental distinction is and where the rift is happening is people who were part of body positivity as a movement to feel better about themselves individually versus people who were part of the movement as a way of dismantling fat phobia as a system and like writ large, and not to judge either motivation, but that it is a lot easier to reject it later if you were in it for your own you know, feelings about yourself and your body than if you were in it in a more political way for like justice for all body sizes and dismantling a system that oppresses people based on what they look like. So I think that which has layers and layers and layers with racism and other kinds of pieces that come into fat phobia. So I do think that is like it should bring up a big discussion because it necessarily is part of a larger discussion, even if it's not meant to be quite this deep in the books. And before we return, because we have been on a long tangent, the other thing I just want to bring up as we're talking about accountability and like ways of navigating these things, because I do think that we often, whenever we bring up something that we're like, we shouldn't do this, we should do this instead on the pod. In addition to, I think, the really good point of not just being not racist, but being actively anti-racist and applying that across the board, I also just think about the concept of restorative justice and other types of practices that actually allow for people to engage in accountability and repair around harm, whether that's done on a community scale, an individual scale. Obviously, you can't fully separate those two things. And just that there are avenues for, you know, it's not hopeless to think that people can come together around really hard topics and be able to find a sense of relief or release or justice or accountability. Like, that is possible, and people do it. So, you know, if you haven't looked into restorative justice, I think it's an interesting area that is one example of a framework for doing that.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And the last like two things I want to throw in there are like that like people have done that in the past, and this isn't necessarily an example of restorative justice, but this is, I think, a really good example of like, even in the past, people have been able to have really hard conversations, and it doesn't always lead maybe 100% to where you want it to, but like change can happen. I really recommend the movie The Best of Enemies. Like for that, for really being able to see that like in like the 70s, people were able to have really, really hard conversations about race. And I think in the current climate, it's really important to remember that like that can happen.
Yes.
Like it's really hard and it can happen, and it's important that we do. And the last, I want to end this very long tangent on like, this is why books are important, to your point earlier. And like, this is why like, this is why people are trying to ban books, is because even a classified as a middle grade book can lead to discussions like this from like two grown adults rereading them on a podcast, you know? And so it's like, this is literally why books are trying to be banned, because of the thoughts and the reflections and like what comes from reading stories. And reading stories that do not reflect your own, like so much comes from that, and that's why books are being banned, and it's why they should not be banned.
Yes.
So that's.
And as we step off of our various soapboxes that we have stepped onto here, just so many, this is sort of, I think we can kind of go through like, this is the theme of the next section. So it is a lot of C.C. telling both Annabeth and Percy that they are not good enough, particularly good looking enough, and that they can look better with her help, whether that be the seaweed wrap that we think, which is kind of funny. Don't they specifically say seaweed wrap for Annabeth? I just caught that. Because seaweed brain, it's just kind of funny. And like put that together. That was right up at the top. I think that Raina might be the one who says it, but So we have a variety of Percy looks into a mirror, feels not like his best self. A cloth drops down, and then he sees like cool Percy, which is kind of funny. Like he's like, I'm wearing the right clothes, and I'm a little bit taller. And... I kind of love actually how generic it is, because I do think that speaks to like when you aspire to a thing that does not exist, like an ideal that does not exist. Yeah. You have to be kind of generic about it. Right. Like I'd be a little less this and a little more that. Yeah. Because it's not real. So it's like, you can't specifically just be like, if I only wore this one brand of sneakers, then all of me would be cool, you know? And then along the way, we get tons of, like, the guinea pigs are yelling, and we're ignoring that. Yep. So then we get to the actual solution that C.C. is offering Percy. And she's referencing, like, what's going to happen in the cage, which is, like, he'll have to eat, like, veggies and or fresh fruit, because he's a guinea pig and a mild exercise program, which is just like the wheel. But it is funny how much it's like, oh my god, if it's not like Ozempic type talk right now, it's like oh, just a couple lifestyle things, and also this drug that will have literally side effects that we will either not disclose or barely disclose and will like kill people. We've seen this before, but basically, it is a drink mix packet that she pours red powder out of into some water, and it looks like a strawberry milkshake. It tastes like a strawberry milkshake. It does not function like a strawberry milkshake usually functions.
This is not if it like looks like a duck and quacks like a duck.
Yeah. If it looks like a strawberry milkshake and it tastes like a strawberry milkshake and it's given to you by a sorceress, it will turn you into a guinea pig.
Right. It's going to do something that isn't, you know, like, which just
the reference point here for me is definitely the Emperor's New Groove. Like, are there different flavor packets in the back, and then they turn you into different things, you know? Because guinea pigs are like for the boys and the pirates and, you know, the badly behaved whatever, but then like, is there a turtle packet and that one tastes like lemonade, you know?
Yeah, she is very Yzma, but just like sans Kronk. Like, instead of Kronk, she just has all women.
Yeah. Which makes me think Yzma could have been a lot more effective if she had.
Yes, Kronk foiled all of her plans.
You gotta love Kronk, though.
You gotta love Kronk. But he did foil all of her plans completely.
Did. Sometimes you gotta love an incompetent man just when he's on the other side of things.
He's a himbo. He is a himbo. And sometimes your story needs a himbo.
Sometimes it does. This story does not have it, which means we are in trouble. Yeah. And she even says, like, one of these substituted for a regular meal. So it's like a real magic thing if it can solve all your problems with one drink. That's a scary... I would not be drinking that drink. So anyway, the red flags turned into red sirens, and now I don't even know what kind of alarm we're ignoring at this point.
We're kind of past. It's like the alarm has now just become like a white noise machine.
Well, and that's what I was...
Percy drinks the milkshake, and he becomes a guinea pig.
Yes. Spoiler alert. This happens. But this was just making me think. I was just reading a thing on ADHD and the ways in which our brains track annoying noises all the time, and it like eats away at us, but we don't notice it consciously. So sometimes in the moment when you like snap, it's because you've actually been like dealing with stuff for like 5 hours and you just haven't recognized it. So it was the final thing that made you snap, and it wasn't like that you're overreacting to that thing. It's that you're properly reacting to how overstimulated you are. Yeah. So in a way, like, maybe we can see some of these times when they miss red flags as like the ADHD doesn't quite take the thing in and it becomes background noise until it snaps later.
This is, I'm back to, I'd love for us to get like an expert on ADHD and neurodivergence. Just like talk to me like, okay, what's going on here with this? Like, break it down for us. Totally. Because I feel like that would be so much fun to do.
But yes, Percy is a guinea pig.
Yep. He transforms. Before he does, he does get in the question about what was nagging in the back of his mind, which was why there were no guys.
Right.
at the spa, which like I do think is the type of thing where I think like for not to like go on a whole nother soapbox, but I do think that's the type of thing that like a man would be like, wait, what? There's no other guys here? Like something's weird. Whereas like I think a lot of girls around me would be like, oh, hell yeah. Like now I can relax, which is like kind of Cersei's whole deal. But he doesn't get an answer, gets turned into a guinea pig, the curtain drops away and he sees it, which I think that's our hint that like obviously the curtain was magic and was like she uses that as part of her, you know, thing. And that Percy didn't process like, oh, she's not like showing this to me in a mirror, she's showing this to me in a curtain that's now preventing me from seeing like my reflection.
I mean, it's very like, it's back to the Wizard of Oz, right? Like who's the man behind the curtain? Like it is totally, it's a concealing thing rather than a like, if she were truly going to do something about his appearance, like you wouldn't need a curtain for that to happen.
Totally. And Percy really like fights her. She's like picked him up and he's squealing and squirming and trying to escape, and I think because he like is putting up such a fight, she winds up putting him with her other discipline problems, like the particularly like
which is just par for the course with Percy Jackson. Like she means like truly heinous men, right, like violent, scary men. But it's not Percy's first time being called a discipline problem. Oh no! So it's just kind of funny. No. The other like as much as we're kind of using her dialogue as a broader critique, I do think it's just, you know, so much of the Percy Jackson books are like, the top layer is funny and then the bottom layers are all like deeply meaningful that you can talk about for hours.
Absolutely. Yes.
The top layer here, when she just goes, perfect. See, Percy, as she tightens her grip around his furry belly as a guinea pig, you've unlocked your true self. It's just like, it's funny. It's just
I know. Funny. Also, what's funny is the like discovery that like she's shipping out classroom guinea pigs like from her.
So
like
funny.
Like this is where classroom guinea pigs are coming from, which I was just like, oh my god, those poor kids, like not knowing that you have like Blackbeard.
Oh my god. Like yeah. Well, luckily he's not being shipped out, but oh my god. Yeah. I mean, the number of things that you're like, I didn't need an explanation for why that is, but it is very funny that you have given me this explanation for why that is. And then it's almost always like, and yes, the author was a teacher. Yep. And that's, and he's thinking about why this is, why is it always a guinea pig?
Yep. And those are some of, in stories like these, some of my most favorite explanations to get are the unnecessary ones.
Totally.
Or the like,
absolutely.
I wasn't wondering, what do
just for fun
from? I love, they are my favorite, and they're the ones that almost make me feel like the world is even more real because it was so unnecessary for me to know.
And I think it's partly because it's like a thing you've never wondered about or questioned before. So then it like comes up, it's like, oh, that's interesting. You know, like it's a surprise.
Yes, yeah. But then Annabeth comes back to the room like sooner than C.C. was prepared for, so she really quickly like puts Percy in the cage, kind of kicks his clothes under the loom as Annabeth comes in, and Percy has a moment of like being tongue-tied if he could speak and seeing Annabeth being fully made over. I do just want to say Percy's doing a little bit of not like other girls zing when she's like, she's wearing makeup, which I thought I would never catch Annabeth dead in. And I'm like, okay.
Calm down.
We don't need to not like other girls,
the
Annabeth.
Only girls who can wear makeup are Aphrodite girls. And Aphrodite girls will never be caught without makeup. Alisa.
Of course. Yeah, and smart girls don't wear makeup because it's
smart
2006.
Girls can't wear. They're literally the only thing they're dumb about is the ability to put on makeup. In all other
that's
respects,
somehow
smart
so logical.
Girls, yeah. But if you have no brain cells, the only skill you have is putting on makeup.
Right.
That is pop culture lore.
It
like,
is, especially
just written in stone.
Early 2000s.
Brought down from the mountains.
Okay. Yes. And Annabeth is like, where's Percy? And Cece's kind of like shocked, like, don't worry, he's getting his treatments.
Right.
And Annabeth is immediately like, I am obsessed with the library. And and this
because still smart girl.
Yes.
The makeup was just forced on her.
Right.
Still not able to put it on herself. This is a makeover by someone else, third party.
And this is where Cece's like starts to make her pitch of like join me on this island and together we will.
Yes.
Yeah. We will rule.
We will be beautiful and magical and.
And she like goes straight in with it because she's like, you could be anything. Like, what do you want to be? And Annabeth is like an architect, and she's like, screw being an architect. You have the makings of a sorceress. And she like goes hard on this pitch. You know, saying her mother is
Hecate?
Yeah, see, so I do a weird, like, I'm realizing with a lot of my pronunciations, I do a combo of like Spanish and English, so I always said Hecate.
Sounds like you're telling someone to do something to themselves. Hecate.
No, I would go Hecate. It was, the stress was on the A.
Like aguacate.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know what to do with that.
So, definitely not what it is, but just, you know, the joys of
how you have thought of pronouncing all the Greek things.
Yeah, having, you know, grown up speaking English and Spanish.
Yeah.
I pronounce things in ways that are utterly and completely incorrect.
Fair.
But so which it's interesting because this is actually who her mother is here is like in contrast to Wikipedia and like other tellings. Wow. So that's just like, that's interesting. And I have not done
her mom and other.
Well, so for example,
tellings.
I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. It says in most accounts she's described as the daughter of the sun god Helios and the Oceanid Percy, spelled P-E-R-S-E. And like I'm pretty sure actually it's been too long since I've read Madeline Miller's Circe. I didn't think that she was a daughter of Hecate. In that book, but it seems like there are various accounts of who she is the child of, right. And I think it makes sense for the like Greek mythology learning here for Rick Riordan to go with that,
to be a sorceress.
She's the daughter of the goddess of magic.
I think some of the deeper things that are happening here are we are learning about a goddess that's not one of the main Olympian gods, which is a key thing across all the books, and I mean, Hecate is going to come in big time with Hazel later in Heroes of Olympus. So it is cool how early we're getting a little bit of a feature on at least just knowing that she's the goddess of magic.
Yes. Excuse me. So Cece is like really going hard on the pitch. Percy is desperately trying to get Annabeth's attention by like squealing and but now like the mean-looking guinea pigs are kind of like coming out of the shadows, and Percy's like, "Oh no!"
Yes,
like
you kind of have like danger. A mini-scale horror movie happening in the background as Annabeth is just like made over and talking to Circe, who's trying to get her to become a sorceress.
Yeah, and Cece's kind of trying. It's interesting. She's like pitching like how many like great female half-blood heroes are there, and Annabeth starts naming them, and she's like, but the men get all the glory, and but Medea and Calypso, which is fun because we get our like Calypso,
we do. And Medea for later,
like two really big ones here, and this is where Annabeth puts together that Cece is Circe after like this whole pitch. I think that's it finally like hits Annabeth, who she must be. And that's when she like asks like what has happened to Percy, and when Annabeth fully takes in her surroundings, because Cece replies being like, made him into like his truest, greatest form, and she's like, oh my god, Percy's a guinea pig. I'm surrounded by guinea pigs. She ditched the pig thing. She went with guinea pigs. Like,
she added a guinea to the pigs, and that is what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and Cersei really keeps on trying to pitch Annabeth on this, being like, he'll be cared for, like, you can become so wise and powerful. And Annabeth is like brilliant here, like truly brilliant, because she stares, she puts a dreamy expression on her face. From Percy's perspective, he's like, oh no, we've lost Annabeth, like she's been taken over, she's been convinced, but she like does such a good job at putting on the, like, I can tell I should be just a little bit entranced, so I'm gonna play that card, and
she's like playing to Cersei's ego.
Yep. And she asks for just a minute alone to say goodbye, and Cersei's like, okay, yep, you do that. And immediately, like, dreamy expression gone, Annabeth walks in. She tries to identify Percy, like, asking, like, which one of you? But also, like, finds his clothes, immediately goes for the multivitamins, and then again, brilliantly, takes one herself. Which Percy is like, no, because he's forgotten what Hermes told him about the multivitamins. Right. Like, and to be fair, I think he's just too overwhelmed and stressed out about the fact that he's a guinea pig. I would be too, to be like thinking straight and remembering what did Hermes say about these multivitamins. Right. But Annabeth is brilliant because she pops one, but right before Cersei immediately comes back in, and Annabeth draws her knife, and Cersei tries. She's like, okay, fine, you're not joining me. I'm going to turn you into something. She goes with, what does she say? A shrew, which is like, talk about some loaded internalized misogyny with that one. Very much. And tries to turn her into one, and nothing happens because brilliant Annabeth took the multivitamin.
This is definitely a standout from the sale she makes at the beginning to taking multivitamins and being able to, see past some of the charms that are happening here. This is definitely an Annabeth saving the day kind of chapter where we see her skills at play. And before we get to the end of what happens here, I just want to add to two things that happen that I think are like C.C. Specific, like when we go back to the idea of like the cult leader or whoever who like makes you think that you're not good enough about yourself. Two other things that she does that I think are worth noting. One is that when Annabeth says that she wants to be an architect, Cece like tells her that she shouldn't and she should want to be something else. Like if someone really wants you to, is trying to get you to feel bad about yourself and like you don't know who you are and you're not up to your potential, and like you're saying something that's so true to your core and they're dismissing it, that's a red flag. And then the other one is when Cece like creates a trap for herself by asking the most like trivia intelligent based demigod ever if she knows any like half-blood heroes, because Annabeth could have probably gone on for a while with the list because she's going to be the one looking that up. So it's just an interesting, like, it reminds me of when we talked about how Kronos just like uses the same lines on Percy that he uses on Luke and everybody else, but it's like not really tailor-made for Percy because he doesn't have enough empathy to even like care about him or to kind of see beyond his own ambitions. And so like I just think here we have another example of a powerful person, like being, who is used to the same lines working and like used to being able to just win people over to their system, whatever that is. And, you know, I just think those are good red flags to look out for and ways in which she does not succeed here with Annabeth.
Totally, yeah. I think it's always a red flag if someone is telling you, I just want you to be your greatest potential, but then they're defining that for you and not, they're telling you what that is for you and not supporting you in the discovery of how you define that for yourself.
And specifically telling you shouldn't want to do things that you genuinely want to.
Want to do. Yep, exactly. And so in the moment where Cersei tries to turn Annabeth into a shrew and nothing happens, Annabeth leaps forward and sticks the point of her knife against Cersei's neck. And what's really interesting for me in this moment is, I guess none of these magic users like trained in hand-to-hand combat, because there are other magic users like sorceresses with Cersei. It's not just Cersei alone with Annabeth in this moment. And they all just basically go, she got us.
Yeah, right.
Our magic doesn't work, and she's
with
got
the
a
one
knife.
dagger, which I do wonder if Rhaena and Hilla kind of learn from that later. Like if this is one of the things that makes them both want to be able to be more equipped with combat, especially once they end up with Blackbeard.
Totally. It, like, for whatever reason, it made me think of in The Amazing Spider-Man, where Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is like, oh no, my weakness, small knives. And then it's webs the guy. It's right. What do you... Right. But in this instance, it's like, oh no, Cersei's weakness is a small knife.
Genuinely.
When she doesn't have her magic. Like,
when it's not going to work. Yeah.
She's completely incapacitated. And so then... Annabeth takes Cersei over to the guinea pig cage, knocks the top off, and pours the rest of the vitamins inside. Yep. And Cersei screams no, panics, because she knows who's about to become a human again.
Yeah, this is a fateful decision.
Yep. And Percy is first to a vitamin, eats the whole thing, feels fiery inside, in kind of terms of tracking what are all the different forms of magic and transformation kind of how make people feel in this. And then suddenly there's a bang. He's human again. The cage explodes. I keep on thinking of to be human again, to be and Beauty and the Beast. This whole sequence. But very quickly after him are 6 other guys. Who are looking very disoriented, but also once more humans.
Because they've been there for 300 years, mind you.
Yeah.
That is... Yes. We haven't mentioned that yet, but that's a long time to be a guinea pig.
That is a really, really long time to be a guinea pig. And
I'm surprised they're, upright. I feel like that you would just be sort of on the ground.
Yeah. It would take you a little longer
waddling.
to, totally, adjust to, having 2 legs and 2 arms again.
Yeah.
To being bipedal. Once more.
Right, exactly.
But the first of these 6 who fully comes to is who Annabeth immediately recognizes as Edward Teach, son of Ares, also known as Blackbeard. And it's funny because he's basically tells his men to charge at her and goes, then also I need a big bowl of celery. And that's our first introduction at they're going to kind of feel a little guinea pig-esque for a minute, including Percy.
They may be able to walk upright, but still craving the celery.
And the other thing that happened in the transformation is thankfully clothes magically back on.
Yes.
Which is deeply important. And good, I think that the magic worked that way.
Yeah.
That they all came back fully clothed. Yes. So Annabeth and Percy have their reunion, and he's trying to apologize for being an idiot, and they're both just kind of we got to get out of here. And Annabeth is Cersei's distracted. We got to go now.
But she tackles him with a hug.
She does.
I love this moment actually because she sheathes her knife and glares at Percy, and he thinks that she's mad at him. Yeah. But what I love about this moment is she's just relieved to have him back, and I think especially after losing Tyson, it's a really sweet moment. I think it reminds me of when they're embarrassed in the thrill ride of love, and then they're just holding hands because they're scared. It's just this moment of what's the right word? Not intuition, but intuitive. But it's just this moment of following her feelings. Yeah, which I think sometimes is harder for Annabeth. Totally. And it's just sweet to me.
Absolutely. Well, and I think it was making me realize, and I don't think we need to dive deep into it, but touching on Annabeth's response to her believing Tyson died just made me think about Annabeth lost Talia. This is all of us have immense grief when we lose someone, and Annabeth has experienced a similar thing of a child in this mythological world not making it far in life. And so
Totally.
I think like,
and transforming into something else.
and Tyson just
permanently.
happening, and then Percy. So I think it's probably this combination of bringing up some past stuff and then also just like immense relief in this present moment that like
Yes.
Percy is back and he's okay and they're both okay and like they can escape. But that all, I think a bunch of past stuff is probably also getting like mixed
Absolutely.
up in this.
And I think, there is a tinge of the relationship that will become
Absolutely.
there.
Oh, yes, of course,
and,
of course.
I think then she immediately, she undoes the golden braids in her hair, but then she calls them seaweed brain. So it just, there's this, real locking in of connection that happens here. That's really sweet.
Absolutely. And so they both they take off running, and Percy does have a moment of feeling bad about having let these unruly pirates out. But then it's interesting, he says, but I guess they deserve something more entertaining than the exercise wheel after being cooped up in a cage for 3 centuries, which I think is an indication of, and again, he's only 13, but not really understanding maybe the kind of larger context of it's not so much about that they were lacking entertainment.
Well, that, but also he's thinking maybe it's interesting to me that he thinks maybe they deserve to not be locked up, instead of thinking he doesn't think, oh, Cersei deserves her comeuppance, which I think is interesting. But he's also not thinking what would they then do, and do the women there deserve, do the girls and the women there deserve this, which is what he'll have to confront later. Yeah.
And so they reach the docks, and Annabeth is like, which ship do we take? And Percy looks around, and then he sees this old sailing vessel, and he just knows in his gut that's the right one for them. And so they board the Queen Anne's Revenge that Percy is not able to decipher in the moment, only later, which I think is that I think a great reminder of the dyslexia is still there.
Yes. Well, my brain just mashed it together because we've talked about what happens when Percy is stressed and his dyslexia is coming up. So stresslexia is coming to mind as a way to describe this, and I feel this is one of those stresslexia moments where you just cannot process the information in front of you. And the repercussions of that is that he finds out very quickly that they have boarded Blackbeard's ship itself.
Which I think Annabeth is also having some of that stresslexia, because I think she would be hold on a second, that's Blackbeard's ship. What are you talking about, my guy? Yes. But they board. Blackbeard is somewhere behind them being scallywags are aboarding me vessel. He's really kind of just stereotypical pirate,
classic
which is fun.
Pirate.
I think it's fun. I like that
totally.
choice. And Percy's kind of looking around being it would take, a crew hours to get underway. We don't have hours. What do I do? And it's interesting that he takes this moment. He chooses to close his eyes, concentrate on the waves. He meditates and grounds himself to the sea, and suddenly I guess the magic word for this ship that means that the magic will work is mizzenmast, that he finds and yells, and so the ship does everything itself to get ready.
It just puts itself together, which I have a question. So I wrote beside it, it's just like magic, because it felt like this moment. But okay, so my question is this a word that is specific to this ship? Is it a word that Percy could use with any ship to get it to make itself put together, because it's just a Poseidon thing? And why then would this be the only thing that requires a word when everything else is just a gut tug?
So I think that it's a word for this ship.
Okay.
I think, because Blackbeard is a son of Ares, I feel there's magic in the ship.
Okay.
And, the code word for the ship to do its own
put it together
thing is this.
Okay.
And that it's just for this ship.
I don't remember,
that has always been my interpretation of this.
I don't remember Percy using it later, so that would track for that. I think we'll get a little bit more about the ship in the next chapter, so maybe we can pay attention to how the magic is operating and see what we think.
But so they make their escape. Annabeth's kind of astounded at Percy's ability to do this.
I would be too.
Yeah, yeah, and Percy doesn't like fully quite understand it yet, but he can feel the ship responding to him as if it were part of his body. He's able to will the sails to rise and like will the rudder to turn. Like he's just doing this all. He is one with the ship, and
yes, he is.
So the Queen Anne's Revenge lurches away from the dock, and by the time the pirates arrive at the water's edge, they are underway, sailing into the Sea of Monsters, and that is where we end the chapter.
That is where we end the chapter. So if maybe that is the magic word for the ship, but I guess could anyone then just have this relationship to it where they can will it, like could Blackbeard will it, or is that component Percy's Poseidon heritage? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. So I think that the word is what gets the ropes to go and the canvases to unfurl and like everything, like all of the stuff that we see in the pirate movies that they have to do to like get a ship ready to sail. It's like the word does that because Blackbeard does have a crew like of sailors with him. So I think the word does that, but then the like Percy's one with the boat, he can control it just by like thinking and willing things, I think is pure son of Poseidon. Like
the Blackbeard crew you're thinking would have to do all the actions to make those things happen, like
they'd have to.
I think
they'd
I
have
was
to much
having
more
trouble
manually do that.
separating them, so
I get that.
I'm curious to read next chapter and like see if we get any more clues.
Yeah, and I could be wrong, but I think because in later books, like it's Percy is able to do this again with other like boats and ship like things, that I think that's why it's always felt that.
Like steer them, but I don't think he ever says mizzen mast again.
No, that's why I think
like
yes, that's why it feels like that's just the magic to like get all the stuff right so that they can start sailing, but then they do have to like manually sail the ship, whereas Percy doesn't have to manually sail the ship.
Yeah, with his powers.
I
got you. What a chapter! This is a big one.
Truly, yeah.
We don't get very far in terms of moving forward on our quest.
No.
We do get a ship. We get to go from a rowboat with a makeshift sail to a full-on ship, so that is useful. But this is one of those, like, a little bit like Lotus Casino, which all the way through, where it's kind of a time suck on the quest and not really moving us forward, or even other than the ship, giving us any other tools to use for the quest ahead.
For sure.
Yep. Any final thoughts from you?
I don't think so. I think I shared and said all my many thoughts. We
had many thoughts today. We had so many thoughts. I like the invention of Stresslexia, so I'm just holding on to that. That feels fun, and I am excited to be in motion again. But also, it was really fun to be able to meet Reyna and Hilla now before we're gonna run into them later. So that to me is maybe the most like delightful part of this chapter, because I think their story is so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, we are sailing into the Sea of Monsters, and so next time we will read chapter 13, Annabeth Tries to Swim Home. Bye.
Bye.